Welcome, everybody. Thank you for your patience tonight with a few little technical issues. But this is the first time we're having a call such as this for male leaders in the Life Vantage business. We're a group of leaders who have some awesome men in the team. And I just wanted Brett to get a broader picture of what is possible in the business from male leaders, because in my team, I've only got females. So I think Brett needs to actually connect with some of these beautiful guys. So tonight we have Craig Walsham from Auckland, Philip Hall from Bali, Andrew Woodford from Tasmania, Robbie Fenter from the Sunshine Coast, and Jeff Edelman, if he can get on board, also from the Sunshine Coast. So what we were thinking, it would be a good idea if any questions that come up during the course of as we go through the questions, if you wouldn't mind putting them in the chat. And at the end, we'll answer all the questions together. So, Philip, you are number one. You're the first rank off the rank here. So it's difficult to describe Phil, what he does, because I was lucky enough to go to Croatia, and that guy, and he just gets his light far and wide. He's got an extremely broad knowledge of not only our industry and our products, but other things as well. So he is ostensibly an autoimmune and transformation specialist. So what I'd like to ask you, Phil, how do you talk to your prospective customers about the GLP-1 product?
I love this question, and it's been quite a whirlwind knowing you since Croatia. But I actually don't say anything about GLP-1. Not one word I mention that. Now, the reason why I say this, those of you when you start in Life Vantage, and you people say, are you NRF2 activated? Now, number one, most people never knew what that was. And now people going on Facebook, hey, are you NRF2 activated or GLP-1 activated? People don't want to say, no, I'm not, because they're going to think like they don't know anything and they're going to seem silly. So most people won't say anything. So I don't even use those words at all. I would say to people, know what I work in the autoimmune. And I would use, I did a post like, hey, if you got leaky gut, if you do have this experience, let me know. I've got to find a unique way I can possibly help you get that back on track. And whatever you're doing can complement what you're doing right now to get your health back on track. And they go, oh, what's that? Hey, let's jump. And then what I do, I always ask permission. This is one of the most coolest things I've done, to take the level of your business and put it up here and not be like a typical network marketer. I'm a network marketing professional. So I say, great. Before I even communicate with them, I say, would it be okay if I can send you a link to book into my diary? It's gold. Like, oh, they're in the driving seat now, because, we don't know if they've got kids, their life's busy, they've got work, they don't have to do different time zones. Okay, I send the link, and I send it the link, say, book in your own time zone, and it'll match up with my diary. If you do not find a time that suits you, I'll manually help you book the appointment. And I said to them, would it be okay if I follow up with you within 24 hours if I haven't seen your booking come through, because technology can be a pain in the butt? They go, oh, yeah. So why have I done that? I've accidentally now dropped a seed. I'm going to follow up again. And then it's, hey, Rob, haven't heard you booked in. I hope everything's okay. Is technology been a bit of a pain? Oh, gee, Phil, so sorry, I've been so busy. Okay, let me do it now. Done. Book. And that's how our conversation starts. And then I get on the call with them here on Zoom. It could be invite them to a webinar, depending what it is. Some people don't want to go on webinars because they don't want to be part of it. That's why most people have the cameras off anyway. It's like going to a meeting with a helmet on. That's why they have cameras off for meetings. It's kind of weird. So for me, I'll stay away from it. I want to talk to the human. And the angle is they get a booking link, they get a Zoom link, it's automated things, emails done. And I tell you now, if I have 10 bookings, maybe 9 of them will get on a call with me. 1 may not get on because whatever's gone on. And if 9 people come on, I can tell you now, I enroll a minimum of 5 people on the phone straight away with me. That's how I talk about it. I don't talk about GLP-1. And it's really hard when you're working with people, because I'm going to say it like it is. If somebody's overweight, you can't say, hey, big boy, big woman, you need to lose weight. It's like, man, you're going to get slapped, and it's offending people. So you have to go a roundabout way. So another thing, what I do, I've got a guy that is very influential, quite a big, with weight, what have you. And I would say to him, let's call him Jack. Hey, Jack, you know what I do in terms of the health and wellness space? I'm actually branching off my business with the weight loss arena. I'm looking for people that are in the health professionals. I'm just wondering if you know anybody that I can work with, because I've changed what people are doing with the health and wellness, because I'm seeing too many people having sugar issues going on. Let me know if you know anybody. I'd love to connect them and if you can collaborate with them. Most times I go, what is this about? I want to know more. And then the conversation starts. So that's the angle. I don't talk about GLP-1. I stay away from that word. No one understands it. So that's my angle, yeah.
So I know you've always said that you don't like to use the word GLP-1. So when you say to this slightly overweight fellow, how do you tell him what it is?
I don't. I jump on a webinar and I say, hey, would it be okay if I could share some slides with you? He goes, yeah, cool. What is this, Jill? And they say, you're talking about weight loss. Tell me more. And then I just basically go in the science, science, what it actually does, what this hormone is, and why as we get older, it declines. And obviously, as we get older, oxidative stress goes up. So I say, well, let's smack oxidative stress in the head and let's lift this hormone up. And that's how we get your body in balance. And another thing, what I say to them, think of, I'm going to give you a real cool tip here. GLP-1 balances your hypothalamus. Now, if anybody knows what it is, Craig's on the call, he'll know it because you're quite well known in that stuff. So your hypothalamus is your CPU, like your computer, right? The old days of this big box under your desk, that's what it is. Balance the hypothalamus, balance pituitary, balance the thyroid, balance the sex hormones. So I say to them, if your wheel alignment's off, we've got it back in line. And at the end of the day, you can be happier and you'll be smaller and you'll be hornier. And they go, great, I want some of that. Because your sex hormone is getting balanced. And that's what I'm doing. Because let's be honest, I'm going to say it like it is. People do anything for beauty, pain, intimacy, chronic fatigue, and weight loss. I still haven't spoken about GLP-1. So yeah, that's my angle.
That's great. Phil, thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate it. So for the others on the call, our Craig is from New Zealand, in Auckland, and he is a retired chiropractor and functional medicine practitioner. So he comes with a wealth of knowledge. So Craig, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
So the one is, what is the GLP-1 pathway?
It's a pathway that starts in the stomach with some cells called L cells. And when we digest food, these L cells sense that and it triggers a protein, but it's also a hormone. So if you think of it like a signaling agent, to those of you who are familiar with Protandim, think of it like the KEAT1 protein. Once that's activated, it sets off a pathway. And that's the easiest way to think of GLP-1, and it affects the brain, your liver, and so it has a number of ramifications for digestion, hunger, satiety, cravings, and also for fat burning. So yeah, that's what's going on.
And we've spoken so many times, Craig. Craig is actually my health consultant. So when I've got a problem, I go to Craig. And he's been looking after me for quite some time. And he's always honored me about protein. So can I ask this question? Why is protein so important when it comes to weight loss?
Okay, so as we age, the GLP-1 pathway, it decreases. So our ability as we age, like many other processes, like oxidative stress, these pathways decline with age. And what I would often say, and I've said this to Margie, have you seen any sexy 90-year-olds recently?
No.
Well, there's a reason for that, and the reason is actually muscle. Because if we're totally honest and we look at the female form as a guy, what we're looking for is muscle definition and proportion. And what we know is as we age, our ability to digest protein decreases. So this goes hand in hand with the GLP-1, because GLP-1 also helps gut healing and absorption of minerals and protein. So without this pathway working very well and without someone eating a good amount of protein, then you are going to lose muscle size and volume and strength, and therefore mitochondria, because muscle has more mitochondria than fat. So this is how this imbalance gets out of whack. And of course, the elderly, as they age, they actually eat less protein. They start eating other meals that are more carb-based, cheese and crackers and all those kind of things, because they're on their own, and they're not having a T-bone steak a day. So this is really, really important, that if someone is taking the GLP-1 product, or anyone who's looking to change their nutrition and wants to lose fat, then you need to increase protein.
That's a great answer. Thanks, Craig. One more question for you.
Yeah.
I know that when you were consulting, you never did to a client, how are you going with your diet, or how is your weight loss going? What did you say?
I would always ask them about how their nutrition was going. Yeah. So it's not
why is it so important with our GLP-1 product?
Yeah, we see a lot of people will do all sorts of different things. I mean, my mum back in the day was a Weight Watchers girl. So copious amounts of coleslaw and cheese on toast, that kind of stuff, and restricting calories. And then the other one that was really popular was Jenny Craig, right? So Jenny Craig had an appetite suppressor in it. And you can look at all their meals, all their little meals had an appetite suppressor. So this is another beautiful thing that the GLP-1 pathway does, is it suppresses your appetite. It makes you feel fuller. So it means that by default, you're eating less calories. And calories is important, but it's not the be-all and end-all, because we need to get the hormones in balance as well. So this is why I would always encourage people not necessarily to be eating less, but it's about making sure that their protein is right to start with. The other important thing that I really want to get across about the GLP-1 pathway is its role in fat burning. And in particular, it's about fat. And brown fat is what your body uses when you're cold. And so the GLP-1 pathway works on the brown fat. It works on that energy pathway associated with keeping you warm. And another reason why we see patients who activate this pathway experience fat loss. So also just on this point, another thing that's not really talked about is GLP-1's effect on the liver, and in particular, the decreased output of fructose from the liver. Now, fructose is found in fruit, but also our own liver produces fructose. So this is another part of GLP-1 and just how powerful it is and how multifaceted it is. So you can see why the drug companies and you can see why Life Vantage were interested in producing a product to activate this pathway, because it is a very, very strong pathway. But what I would say about this, and I've talked extensively to Maggie about this, is that we need to make sure that people are, for example, eating the protein. We need to make sure that they are doing the exercise. We need to make sure that they are doing those lifestyle things, because if they don't, the research shows, even with the drugs that are out there, within 2 years, pretty much people have put the weight back on. In one sense of repeat product, but then you sooner or later you get to the point where people get tired of it and they say, oh, I tried that and it didn't work.
And we don't want that.
Period of time. So what I would be all of the Life Vantage consultants is please, if you have someone who you are saying, hey, I think this product might be right for you, and by right for you, you need to make sure that, one, they're having trouble losing weight, two, problems with overeating and binge eating. Because if you know those things are going on, if you know that there are these behaviors going on that GLP-1 addresses, then you're going to be more productive in the results that you get. You know what I mean? It's like fishing in the pond for the right thing. So it's a very, very powerful pathway. It's encouraging, but at the same time, what I would say to people is don't just treat it as a cash cow. You've really got to be acting in the best interests of the people that you're providing this product to, and you're going to need to give them support. So, they shouldn't expect like anything. This is not a magic pill.
Yeah. So, Craig, thanks. Pearls of wisdom, and I really appreciate it very much. Andrew is a health and wealth advocate. He joined the company 7 years ago, so he's almost the longest standing consultant here on the call tonight. And 5 of those years, the last 5, he's been a consultant. Andrew, just before I give you your first question, what made you join Life Vantage on Protandim NRF2, because that's all there was when you started?
Correct. So I'm an athlete and I've got an interesting journey, but we won't have all the time to go through this now. But in 2013, I was advised by my doctor that if I don't change my pathway in life towards health, I'll be a heart attack statistic, because I was living a very stressful life at the time. It was 3 years after my wife had been hurt in an accident, so I had to step up and take over the parenting responsibilities for an 18-month-old baby and a 3-year-old, do all the cooking and the cleaning and still work professionally in my professional sales role. I ballooned up. I've always been fairly fit and fairly healthy, but I ballooned up to about 105 kilos and 115 centimetres around the waist, and I could feel it. I was struggling. So I took that advice and the gym and started getting healthy and got involved in running and enjoyed that. And so a few years down the track, I was training for an ultra marathon, which is a 64K run. And a friend reached out and suggested that I should try this product. It would help with my recovery, which was interesting because after running 45, 50 Ks on a Sunday, I used to be pretty bloody sore until the Wednesday and I couldn't run to the gym. So I used to run to the gym. Yeah, so what I found was the recovery sped up. And a couple of other things that was noticeable was the really obvious one for me was fingernails. They just grew. So that was my introduction to Protandim. I'm also a fairly logical sort of person, so I did a lot of research, read a lot about it, didn't understand a lot because I'm not that way inclined like some of the other guys here. But it made sense to me. Funny you should say, the thing I'd also thought, I was always thinking that there was something out there that would help health, and by me down, it came my way. So there you go. That's my introduction to...
Thanks, Andrew. Now, as Andrew just touched on, I'm going to just blow his horn a bit, because he's not only a full-time parent to the daughters, he's a full-time carer to his beautiful wife, and he works a very successful sales position, for which he has just concluded the biggest sale the company has ever had. That was last month, wasn't it, Andrew?
Pretty much.
So he's really amazing, and he does the Life Vantage business. So what I want to ask you, in your busy lifestyle and with your experience, what tips would you recommend for customers coming onto the GLP for sustainable health?
So I would reiterate what Craig said. This is not a magic, but it's a holistic way of looking at improving your health. So along the lines with using mind-body system, which I just started yesterday, I still think you need to be mindful of what you eat. So your nutrition needs to be fairly spot on. So exercise, that's just critical. And for me, who I'll share a little bit of stuff with you guys, I've been running around about 1,400, 1,600 Ks a year, and I ride as well. But this year, in February, I got an injury, or two injuries, one on the knee and one on the ankle, same leg, and I've struggled to do any running. So the other thing that's happened to me is, so I'm 10 kilos than what I was in February. Right? One of those is probably emotional eating, because I've psychologically been challenged with the death of my sister, and it's shown up psychologically. So I've had to, for the first time, go onto some medication to assist. It's a very low dose. It still, unfortunately, puts on weight, apparently. So I'm a bit frustrated with that. And I haven't been able to run. And also emotional eating. So it all goes hand in hand in the sense it's not a magic pill. You need to be looking at it from exercise, nutrition, as well as the support from the Life Vantage products, which I think are going to be amazing if they do what they say they're going to do. So
for sharing that. That's great. I have one last question for you. Men tend to put on weight around the middle as they get older. Now, this is not good. What advice would you give to your male clients?
That's a focus that I'm actually going down the path with Mind Body, because I think I think life takes over, and most men I know are the providers for the family. They work hard for their family. Their family is generally their focus, and it's such an issue. Most people I know are working faster and harder and more than they've ever done, and I think what happens is life takes over and they just basically put everything else on the back step. It could be grabbing takeaway on the way home and falling in the chair, and that's it. So what happens? You get a bit of a tummy spread, which is what I've got now for the first time in a long time, and it's bloody uncomfortable, I can tell you. So I think my doctor suggested that if a man's got a waist measurement that's over 100 centimetres, then he's on the path down towards more risk at heart attack. I don't know if that's right. You guys with the medical information could probably confirm that, but I think that most men would need to get their waist measurement under 100 centimetres. So once again, it comes down to nutrition, Mind Body, probably also a bit of fresh air. And I think the other thing that most men don't is mindfulness, and that's just take time out for themselves. Really important to do, especially if you've got a fast-paced life.
Thanks, Andrew. Very, very important. Now it comes to favorite people is Robbie. Well, I've known Robbie for 6 years, so it's been my pleasure. But Robbie is actually the most senior person on the call today and has risen to the door of EC, which is Executive Consultant 1. Robbie, thanks for on today. And Robbie is a health advocate and business owner and entrepreneur and a very talented techno, because he does all these things on our computer, sets up all our websites and everything. He's amazing. So I have a few questions for you. Can I put all those questions together? Because I know you've got a beautiful story to tell and Absolutely. It just combines them all. So what I want to know from you is, why do you say that Life Vantage business is a no glitz, no bullshit business? And why network marketing? And why Life Vantage? And why now?
Okay.
So I'm all ears.
Absolutely. I think the best way to sort of explain all this is a little bit of my story. So I'm 28 now, but when I was in high school, it was my last year of high school. So I was 17. I actually had an accident at work where I broke my back in 3 places. And then 5 weeks later, developed intracranial hypertension. And obviously that took my life for a pretty big spin, considering I was expected to go into uni the next year. So I started in uni anyways to be a paramedic. So I do love health and all that sort of stuff. But after about my second semester, they told me, if you have a back injury, pretty much give up, because it's, I believe, one of the highest careers of back injuries in paramedics. So obviously that threw me for a big loop as well. But when I was 16, Mum actually started in a different company. It was Isogenics at the time. And I sort of like dipped my toes in network marketing, sort of started to understand it a little bit. But it was kind of just like Mum's thing, like, oh, it's good for her. I'm super glad that she's, successful, but that's not something I'll ever do. And it wasn't until she came to me with Life Vantage, which, by the way, when she came to us with Life Vantage, it was, it's another one. We're just waiting for her to, let's see if she gets success. And I sort of, when we sat back for a little bit and she started getting some massive success really quickly, my brother and I both thought, okay, maybe we need to look into this. And the thing for me that I love about Life Vantage, and I guess it hits the no bullshit thing, is in other companies that I've experienced before, they always had sections of like the untouchables, like the people that were really high ranks. You can't get to them. You need to get through their security guards basically to be able to talk to them. And I remember my first event with Life Vantage, and there was what's now presidential. He came up to me when I was a little baby Pro 4 and asked me how I was going and how was the company and all that sort of stuff. And I remember just thinking, what the heck? Like, this is different. This company feels like a family. And for me, that's really, really important, is to feel like you're in amongst people that genuinely care for you and generally will have your back no matter what. And that's definitely Life Vantage for me. But the second thing that caught my attention was obviously the product. I mean, I don't really know a lot about health, but I know business. And I know that if I can sit here and think, no other company on the planet has my product, no other company has even attempted to come close to these products, everybody needs them. And it's something that we can actually go out and with a completely clear conscience think everybody needs this product and everybody can benefit from this product. And to me, from a business side of things, that it's worth $1 million more. So I think that for me, those were the two main things about Life Vantage that really drew me to it. And the network marketing side of things, I was definitely one of those people that was massively skeptical when I first sort of heard about it. I hate the idea of thinking that I'm just trying to benefit from other people. Like, I'm taking your money and I'm getting paid for it. But when I started to understand everything about the industry and understand that it is just a different type of distribution, it's just word of mouth. I mean, I remember a few years ago, Donut King had a thing where if you bring a mate, you and your mate get a free donut. But it's like, that's literally what we're doing here, except we're sharing a product that everyone needs and anyone can benefit from. So that when I started to understand fully about the idea of leveraged income and residual income and how you can build a team now that can set you up into the future, that's the stuff that I love. I mean, I'm still pretty young. It probably seems kind of crazy that a young person says all this stuff. But for me, my idea is here, if I have to put 20 years of my life into something like this to build it super strong, but then I can go and live my life for the next, I'm going to live to at least 150. So for the next 110 years, then, that sounds like something I would want to be a part of. So, and I guess with the Life Vantage thing, I mean, if the products don't speak enough for themselves, I don't really know if there's much else that I could say. But why now? So I've been around since 2016, so I've seen about 8 years of products come and go. And I have to say, we've had a few products come in where we're like, this is it. This is the thing that's going to push us into momentum. And it comes and we're like, and then nothing. And then like another one comes and we're like, this is it. It's coming. We're going to get momentum's coming. And then we're like, nothing. Maybe we went up like 10,000 points in the country, maybe something like that. But this product, I was sitting for 3 days straight on my phone, just refreshing my back office because I have the screenshots to prove it. Every hour, I was going up about $3,300 every hour. As of right now, my business is up over 100,000 US, and that's in 2 weeks. No, it's US dollars because 1 point is $1 US, so it's US dollars. But so completely you lost me track of thought there. I think that's the part for me that I'm sitting back now, and for the first time in any company, like I always remember sitting and being like, oh, that's awesome for that company. They finally hit that wave. They went from 200 million to $1 billion in a year or in 2 years. And I remember thinking that's so awesome for them, like one day. And I finally feel like Life Vantage is finally getting the recognition, getting the praise, getting the publicity that they deserve, because these products that they produce they're insane, and they create a product that fills a need instead of creating a business that has a product, if that makes sense. A lot of companies especially, they'll just bring out a product to make a company instead of wrapping a company around a product. Is what we've got, which I think it's incredible. But yeah, if there's a time to be excited about this company, now is it. And I think the best thing about GLP-1 for me, because I've been on it now for almost 2 weeks, and I was shocked. I had a couple of detox issues, which like headaches and stuff like that, but it's crazy to see that for the first time in honestly any of the businesses I've ever been in, people are coming to us about. Usually you feel like you have to go and explain a product, and like Protandim needs an explanation, it needs a story, because it's not something to easily wrap your head around, and it's not something that easily people think that they need. But this product, everyone wants to be healthier. Everyone wants, well, a lot of people want to lose weight. And that is why this is just, especially from a business standpoint.
Robbie, thanks. You've said it all. You've absolutely said it. Thank you.
I think this is just one thing, Robbie. Lovely to see you, mate. There's that famous Midnight Oil song, that line, it's time to give it back. All that money that I've made for you, time to give it back.
I'll come find.
Lovely to see you, mate.
To see you too.
So our last is Jeff Abelman. Now, he's obviously in crisis. So I'm going to ask Andrea, who's his sponsor, to step in and just tell his story, because he has an amazing story that happened 2.5 months ago. So he's been the shortest time in the business, only 2.5 months. So Andrea, would you please tell his story?
I would love to talk about Jeff behind his back. I mean, who wouldn't? Some of you might have met him at the event, and he's had a few videos. What's most exciting is that Jeff has become like a part of our family. We went down to Brisbane, we met his wife and children, and that's one of the things I love about network marketing, and it reiterates what Robbie said as well, is that it's family. We've all created family. And 3 months ago, I didn't know Jeff from a bar of soap. I literally put a post out onto a South African group introducing myself, telling my story about being a South African, moving over here on a business visa, my husband getting really unwell, and us founding activation that changed his life, and asking women to reach out to me. I'm looking for South African women to actually do what I do, so that we can change the health of Australia and the world, and also assist other people in getting, we have a business owner visa. We have the same thing that Phil mentioned the other day with no super, or not as we haven't been working. So increase your retirement ability. I want to help other South African people do that. Jeff was one of the first people that reached out to me, apologizing that he wasn't a girl, and said something my wife and I could do together. And the rest is history. He literally jumped in to the business like his hair was on fire. Jeff's story is, I think 3 years ago, was practically paralyzed and couldn't get off the floor for 6 months. He had a terrible back injury. Robbie said the same thing. You can identify with that. It hit home for us with Sean having had such pain 8 years ago now with Sean. And so it really hit home for us. But basically, Jeff couldn't move, and he was supposed to have some back surgery. He ended up finding an alternate therapy, a gentleman that deals with muscle atrophy, and that gentleman kept Jeff off the operating table. Jeff was so intrigued by this that he dived headfirst into that, studied the course in accelerated amount of time, and started doing the same work on other people and having remarkable effects on these people. And so he really started to dive into health and alternate things. He worked with a lot of other projects as well. And when I reached out to him about activation, it kind of rang true to him, because his story was, I'm activating muscles that are otherwise in atrophy. And so it just married so well with what he was doing, that he was literally doing the work on his patients, talking about how he's activating them with his hands, but he has this tri-synergizer, and that's the key. He only talks tri-synergizer as well. So all of his customers are straight in on the tri-synergizer, which we all know works in synergy, which means they get radical effects really quickly. He's doing it with the hands. The tri-synergizer is doing it on a cellular level. And he went from consultant to consultant 1, consultant 2, consultant 3, SC1, SC2 in month 1. And then this month, in month 2, he hit diamond. And that's simply because he's delivering the most epic message to people who are looking for a solution to their problem, which then echoes what Phil said. Phil said he doesn't talk about the products and all the names. He talks about, I have a solution. Have you got a problem? Because I've likely got a solution. And Life Vantage have likely got a solution for every single problem that we have. Name anything. We do have a solution for that. So that's Jeff's story in a nutshell, I guess. I would have loved for him to be here and tell you that. But he's a beautiful person who's part of the family, and we all work together, so we can anytime reach out to help each other.
Thank you, Andrea, for stepping in. Robbie, Craig, thank you. Thank you, Phil, Andrew. Thanks for coming on, Talia, and Robin, Sylvania. Thanks for making this call really interesting and great. Have a good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for coming on.